What's up, homie?
Good afternoon. It is bright as hell in my background. I know. I tried everything.
Yes, and I'm in the pitch dark as usual. You know, the highlight reel of Irish culture. Pitch dark. What I'm missing is a cold Guinness and some medium to excellent poetry. Here,
Yeah.
maybe I can get some money from Guinness with this one in my background. Probably not. What's going on? I was literally just trying to upload our So You're Dumb Enough to Want to Own a Restaurant podcast. Dude, that's going to get a lot of play. You do know that.
I know. That's why I left the title is what you suggested. And I was like, all right, let's just roll with it.
Okay, let me ask you something. Let me know when you get feedback from that, because I am always curious of why people want to do this business. You know what I mean? I really am. And I know we've got other stuff to talk about, but you know, when I first worked in restaurants, I was maybe 13, maybe 14 at the most. And the only reason I loved it, I was finally good at something. Did they ever tell you were good at anything? Because it never came out of his mouth. And I'm a fairly talented adult at this point, but they just did not believe in making you have self-confidence that was not earned.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Very fair assessment as to all the psychological damages in my head.
My God. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna have to pause for a little PTSD right now. My dad's favorite quote that I hated and really kind of despised him for was, he would say, "If I could buy you for what you're worth and sell you for what you think you're worth, I would never have to work again." And I was like, man, you know, as an adult, that doesn't cut as bad as it does when you're a teenager.
I know. Do you know, weird enough, there's one sentence I always remember, and it is actually from Dan Powers, where once he walked up to me and he just like mumbled in my ear, where he just said, "Be sad on your own time. We got shit to do." And he walked off.
Oh my God. Now, you know, that was straight from his dad right there. What I would say is, if you're going to be that way, clock it. Give yourself 15 minutes and get your ass in gear and let's get some shit done.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is, be sad on your own time.
Hell yeah.
God bless him. That may be one of the best quotes I have heard in years. Good for him.
Sean, I was actually going to complain to you about technology, and this is actually me complaining, not even about like modern technology. What has happened to fucking drive time radio? Okay,
so I was trying to pay attention to what was sent there. So do you have the same insane like right-wing rhetoric radio, or is it crazy music radio? Tell me what is your comparative with Bangalore and the central circle of Paris?
Okay, so James actually used to listen to this one station when he was here. It's an English music station. Like sometimes they'll play good music, and sometimes it's all modern music. So most of the songs James and me just didn't know.
Right. Wow.
But there's no real like talk radio, like none of that stuff. You'll probably have to go into like the AM range to find like a news or something. But there are different radio stations in different languages. But the reason why I remember this is I didn't take my phone today with me because I just wanted like not to look at anything. And I was driving and the radio was on. Do you know the show that I was listening to is like a lunchtime show, very benign, like stupid music stuff.
Right.
The commentary in that show is basically the RJ reading out social media posts of celebrities on air. So it's basically like me scrolling.
RJ, for those of you who don't understand, radio journalist.
No, go ahead. It was literally like having a voice feed of a social media scrolling.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, this person posted this picture and said this, and this person commented on it. That is your entire radio show. I was like, oh my God.
It is where we're. So in television news here, they say if there is more than 100 likes on something, it's a story. And I go, no, that is not a story. A story is a story. So I have a girl that works with me, and you may know her, Elle.
Yeah.
Elle listens to a readout of Reddit.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you got to turn that shit off. I can't have that rolling in my head while I'm getting set up for work. Yeah. So you're the second person to tell me about something as strange as this, where you go, that is not news, not newsworthy, not anything worthy. That's a lazy journalist. But it probably works.
Like, I was thinking about, like, I always used to tell you that human beings cannot be trusted with technology. Like, the first ever news story about radio was when Churchill got on air and announced that it was the end of the war. And then you got to drive time radio, which started with like farting noises in their intros and extra. And then it's ended up with somebody just sitting there reading out posts on social media while you're trying not to look at your phone and drive.
Okay, so let's give a couple of comparatives. So I worked for Cablevision in Kansas City, Missouri. So small cable station, full studio, full news, the whole 9 yards. But what I would say was Cablevision was so small, our news was actual news. We didn't pull things off the AP wire. We didn't do any of that stuff. They had actual mediocre reporters go out and do the news. Our anchor was okay by normal standards. And if you were making it as an anchor in BBC, you'd already hit in one of the 5 bigger cities in the British Empire. And so I got to work so teleprompters now literally listen to you and move as you're speaking. Back then, we had to do it with our hand. And so I'm watching him, listening, and I could see his eyes move when I got a little too fast, too slow. But they were his stories. He literally took the stories and rewrote them, and then we produced them. I don't know how yours worked, so give me a second, and then you tell me how yours worked. And our TV cameras weighed thousands of pounds, so they wouldn't bounce when you went across the floor. And now you could shoot that same show with this iPhone if you could get the sound to work on a regular basis, which is its own problem. So, I mean, think of where we've come from that. And there is an app that you can use now where you shoot your news story and the app automatically puts it in the 7 segments that you need. And you send that to the television station and it's done. And you do your 2 stories a day and move on.
Holy shit.
Yeah. The app's phenomenal. Actually, this guy showed it to me 5 years ago, and I used the free version of it, but it looked too much like real news. And I didn't want people to honestly think I was doing fake news, for lack of a better word, because anyone could do it. And it looks like a legit story.
Yeah. Like, I think our budgets were so low, Sean. You should understand that I remember clearly where back then we all didn't have like fancy cameras on our phones. I remember one time where we were interrupted during a shoot where the guy we had rented the camera from wanted it back for a wedding. He had to send the camera.
No! Oh my God. Okay, that's a solid comedy story right there. Holy, because everybody thinks BBC, they got all the money in the world, but obviously they don't spend it. Wow.
And so a lot of times it is just small little production houses, okay, that basically produce a pilot and send it over. And by BBC, there is BBC, the main one that you're used to. Then there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So
it's the Ocho. You were on the Ocho, number 8.
So this would be like the poor man's BBC.
Right. Okay, that's hilarious. Yeah, ours. Nobody ever recognized me on the street from Cablevision. You know what I mean by that?
Yep.
When I'm on the news here, I'll hear for the next week or so, especially if I'm on all stations. I'll hear about it for about a week. And people are like, dude, so you yelling at somebody on the news. And I guess I am approachable enough to yell hilarious shit back at me. And I yell stuff back at them. And, you know, I'm more the comedy player of the news, evidently, than the real folks.
So that's a good persona to have on air.
It is. Well, and I think it's more honest. You know what I mean? Because if you're me, you're not worried about moving up the ladder. Look at me. I am in the final 25% of my life. I'm not trying to impress. I'm not out here to impress shit. I don't care. So you still have to be nice to some people because you might need them down the line.
Yep.
The only thing I need them for is to pick my nursing home.
Don't worry, Sean. We'll find a nice one for you.
Oh, I'm afraid my daughter Danielle is going to be the one that chooses. Then all the payback comes in at that point. No matter what you've ever said to one of your kids in your life, that's when it matters. Mm-hmm. Having been to a couple of funerals that were questionable at best, and have we ever talked about? I don't know if I want to say how she's related to me, but the single worst funeral I've ever been to in my life was not related to me, but on the other side of one of the families. And I swear they dumped this lady into a murky, muddy hole that didn't fit, and they had to use crowbars and pickaxes to get the coffin in the ground. No preacher, no Indian shaman, nothing. And I sat there and went, "Ooh, be nice to your children." Wow.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, Sean, this falls under gruesome imagery in YouTube's guidelines.
Oh, you're kidding me. God dang it. Do you have to cut it out?
I don't know. I'll look at it in the edit and see what to do.
Got it. Doesn't that suck? And it's actually a really pretty good piece of advice for people, and go, hey, man, they literally get their time to get you back. I mean, it exists. So, sorry, where were we as I got off on my tangent of amazingly memorable funerals? Does that work better?
Yeah, amazingly memorable funerals is what we're at.
Yeah. So we had our arena vote here yesterday. Mm-hmm. And the average arena that gets built in America gets built with half public money, half private money. And we decided to agree to 95% public money, 5% private. And
it went through for the new basketball stadium. Is it the basketball stadium?
2-1, 6 arena. Yeah, like almost 70-30, and which is fine. I live in a city called the Village. Just so anybody doesn't think I'm being negative here, we're in the middle of Oklahoma City. I get 100% of the benefit, not a single penny of cost to my citizens.
Yeah,
because I had do you know Patrick from the Lost Ogle?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, the satirical newspaper, he wrote me some really shitty deal last night. He's like, yeah, I'll take you to your first game and you can cry in your beer. And I'm like, dude, I live in the city where we get all the benefit, no tax. Joke's on you. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard back, believe it or not.
Oh, God, dude.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And look, I really mean it. You know, who cares? You know, literally. Mm-hmm. It's a tax that we pay on food is what bothers me. Poor people pay it. So, do you have stuff like that over there where you got to do these kind of enormous non-civic projects?
No, generally no. If it's like a for-profit organization, nobody really like the government won't pitch in and shit like that. Eh?
Right? Isn't that communism? I'm kidding, but.
If Sean, do not say that.
Oh, am I getting a block on something else? Okay, isn't that a different form of progressivism where we all share in the money, but it all goes to one guy?
Yep.
All right. What else do we have on the agenda today, sir? Since I've gone off on every tangent known to man. It would be, so we are in my Irish pub right now, except it is 4:00 in the morning, so it's pitch dark. People, I think the staff just left here, 2.5 hours ago.
See, you should probably get me some, like a video of the pub when the band's playing as B-roll.
Oh, there you go.
Put it in here.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I will do that. Yeah, today's going to be a very, very long day. So I'm in making bread now, and then we've got a luncheon, holiday party, and then regular night's business. So it's going to be a long day, sir.
I know, for Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's that time of year. And then so in January, whatever money we've made this month, you'll lose in January. And then February, everything comes back around and we do real well for a few months. It is cyclical like any other business. And unless you've done it long enough, you don't understand it's cyclical. And don't take it personal if you're slow one week, that kind of stuff. The interesting story about restaurants is servers, people in restaurants notoriously don't save money.
Yeah.
Because traditionally the job, you used to get cash at the end of the night, like literally, and they'd go out and party it all away. And that's how you got them to show up to work the next day. They didn't have any cash left. I wish I was kidding. It's the truth. I'm not being demeaning or mean. That's the way it worked for, century probably. And now it all goes out on like a paycheck. Like every other normal person, it takes kind of the what the hell do you want to do tonight out of the
I know, like a pocket full of just bills.
Oh, yeah. I know. Where can I go blow this? So it's an interesting deal. Hey, my kid's mom had this cool little sports car that now my boys have to, I don't know what they're going to do with it, because it's I mean, like, it's a midlife crisis car, but it's really nice.
Okay.
So they got to figure out a way to get rid of that. That's my story of the day.
No, yeah.
Like, they go, do you want to drive it? I'm like, no, don't want to be seen in a sports car at my age. That means I got issues. I can be seen in my old immigrant car.
Not the good kind of issues, Sean.
Exactly, right. So, exactly. Well, the next thing happening in America, and I have to figure out a way to say this so we don't get in trouble on YouTube. So you have heard that Donald Trump and his people are now talking about dictatorship with him. And he openly says, I am not going to be a dictator except on day one.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Okay, so both you and I worked in news. What does that mean when somebody throws that out there? It's a tease, meaning I'm seeing how people react to it. And if they react poorly, I go, oh, I was just joking. And if they react positively, his goddamn poll numbers went up.
John, that is the thing. With the power of analytics today, you can actually test out your political strategies on air.
Well, on live time. Yeah, I know. So I don't know. I mean, are we that far in this experiment that this seems viable? Because it seems viable to me. I know enough about world history to know this is legit. My curiosity is does his health hold up through all of these trials? and can he really run for president? I see it from a different level, because I look at him and he does not look healthy.
Yeah, for sure. But the weird part about this is that the corporations are to blame at some point for the sole reason that they did not brand and market the benefits of globalization correctly. So the people that got left behind in that chain of events are now pulling back within their borders. So it ends up being a more divided than ever. Like right now, if you read that book by Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat, it makes no sense with all the trade tariffs and treaties and all of that in place.
Right. Yeah. So the question I would throw out on that specifically, the United States' biggest trading partner is China, and has been ever since Walmart made their big run. I would look at, we've got about 15 states that are moving to privatize education and Christianize education. So we've got a number of things going on as we're pulling in as a country, aside from a guy that is the lead of one of the major parties saying he is willing to be a dictator for a day. That shit is worrying. I would say on the marketing of globalization, Americans were globalized before they knew it. And so they were playing catch up. The American unions back in the 70s, I remember the ads to buy American. The problem was the Japanese were making far superior cars at the time.
Yeah.
And the American cars are nice now, but I mean, we've got pickup trucks that are $70,000.
Oh, yeah. I did see an ad for like the high-end version. I think it was a Ford F-250 or something, which was almost close to 100 and something, Sean.
Right.
You could just buy a Ferrari. I mean, it's Ferrari prices.
Right. At least Maserati. You can at least get a Maserati. So the thing that I look at is I go, and I'm trying to remember who the company is that is making this basic work truck. And so they have one they built for $10,000, and it is basically put together like an old Volkswagen Bug, but it's a work truck like you would see in India, the 3-wheelers that you do, but it has 4 wheels. Something a little bit bigger for Americans because we're just bigger. And then they have a $15,000 version, which now seems like a bargain.
Yeah.
But trucks haven't changed since in the 70s. They just started becoming cars on top of chassis. So I don't know where we go back to that, because I could see that $15,000 one being the Model T Ford again. So whoever makes it, I hope they make it here, but I don't think they could labor-wise. You'd have to do it in the Mexican market or something like that, where the labor's, 1/5. That stuff's priced out of most people's range. So when I was driving and in my 20s, when you buy your first new car, loans on cars were for 4 years, and now they are for 7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So the payments didn't necessarily go up, just the amount of time you pay. It was a pretty shrewd move. I will give him credit.
Think about it. Even if you're a truck lover, your option for an eco-friendly version of that would be what, like your Tesla, the Cybertruck, which starts at 60. So who is getting out a loan for 60 the moment they're trying to buy their first car when they're like 21?
Well, so the question, there's a sentence in a movie. Let me see if I can get a phrase. And it was, this lady was, I don't know if she was leaving her husband or refused to marry this guy. And she said, the best thing that happens to you is a new used truck you got from your father. So think about how many women, because women have to think, can this guy contribute to the relationship? They have to. And men look down on him for that, but you go, but you're going to stick them with the kids. They have to look at the reality of, are you going to be around? How long are you going to last? What can you bring to the relationship? You went after them. And if that's the best anyone has to offer, is your dad's hand-me-down pickup truck, which is, hey, it's great that your dad gives it to you.
Yeah.
Why would that woman buy into that relationship?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm the first one to go, hey, it doesn't need to be all about money. It needs to be something about money. I've raised 5 kids. You better be able to do something. So, yeah, give that quote a talking to. Sorry, my nose is itching terribly.
What is the weather there, Rick? Because I'm pretty sure those are some sort of weird allergies.
Right. So it's real nice, and it's, almost Christmas, for God's sakes. It shouldn't be nice. We are, Oklahoma, we're an energy state. So, we get looked down on if we say anything bad about that kind of stuff, as you well know. But we are also digging for cobalt and nickel here in 2 different places.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I don't know how they would get the labor to be able to do that, because that is nothing personal, but slave labor jobs. That's how we keep the battery operated stuff going. Okay, so here's one for you before we head out. So I had this guy go, okay, so you guys are making these battery plants and all these EV cars and everything. And when the batteries catch on fire, is there a protocol of how to put them out?
Do you know one of the MG electric cars here in Bangalore caught on fire, but it was like a small car, like a, what do you call them? Yeah, the name escapes me. But
well, it used to be called a midget here, but you're not allowed to say that anymore. It was a car. It was a brand. Don't send me any mail.
Okay, but the problem was that I couldn't understand the dynamics of what would a fire department do when they go to put it out. What are the chemicals that get released if they mix in a different permutation and combination with whatever foam they're using to extinguish it? How does that work? Are you actually are you creating like a mini chemical spill every time you try and go and put out one of those fires? All of those are like weird little questions. And
they can burn for days. So how much water do you use to put that out? Is it a river? Is it literally a river of water? And it's a valid question, because we're going to be moving to we'll probably get to 50 or 60% electric. Like I can't own an electric vehicle. I literally have to be able to go sometimes 500 miles, sometimes 5 miles. I don't have the same path every day. But it's here. And if they can get enough nickel and cobalt, it'll be here for a while. So we're moving into the next phase of the energy sector. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested to see how that works, because obviously, China has to move with us because they were based on our oil-based economy. So they have to kind of move and switch over. And I'm interested to see how they're able to make the transition.
Yeah, a lot of these economies technically should be in sync for them to work correctly.
Right. Yeah. Or it doesn't work. I mean, you literally can't be doing the opposite thing. So the city of Boston gets a literal boatload of liquefied natural gas. I think it's 3 times a week to run the street lights in the city.
Okay. They still haven't upgraded it. Is that like a union thing?
Right. You're like, can you just not go to LED and we can use 1/100th of this amount? Yeah, I don't know. But that's a literal boatload. And you go, okay, we've got to be able to move away from that, don't we? I mean, the old gaslit lanterns, I mean, are they still doing that shit? Is there a guy on stilts going over and lighting it?
Yeah.
Hey, Lord. So, yeah, so I was in some place where they had changed out the LED lights for the fluorescent lights. And it was really nice, except it looked almost creepy like a film set. You know how you want all the lighting to be even on a film set, unless you purposely have changed it? Yeah, it looked like that. I mean, it was a flat screen. It was amazing. And there are other deals that are made to go on your front windows of your business that you can do. They're LED sheets, and you can program stuff into them. I need to find out where to get that shit. That stuff. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure we can figure that out.
I think that looks pretty fun. And what I go back to is when I was a little boy, and that obviously, in the last millennia, so I don't need any mail on that either. We had a company that took all the little kids from my school, not all the schools, just mine, and they put their Christmas artwork up on the side of their building with a projector.
Oh, wow.
And there was a 2-hour line to go see this stupid little children's artwork. And not only did they look like they were the most neighborhood-friendly people in the entire world, but back then there was nothing to buy. Nobody sold hot chocolate or anything.
Yeah.
You just kind of drove by in the car and you're like, hey, that's Earl's. But I think, when you're not open as a business, you should be able to rent out your windows for ads.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pedestrian friendly. It's street friendly. I mean, you can do some stuff that doesn't cause a wreck, but it is fun. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I am sure there's going to be some jackass who puts up one of those spotlight type things that's going to blind a passing by.
Ruin it for everybody.
Sean, someone's going to ruin it. Human beings are incapable of living within certain bounds.
Being respectful of other human beings. Is that what we're looking to say? Somebody's always got to overdo it, dude. All right, homie. I will get it done. You have yourself a good day over there. And we got nice weather here. I would have walked my dog this morning, but I had no idea it would be this warm.
It's supposed to be snowing, Sean. I got a notice on my phone from 2 years ago where Daisy's running in my backyard and I'm trying to move snow.
Right. God almighty. Hey, got some hummus for breakfast. Not Hamas for breakfast. Hummus.
Thanks for the clarification. I'm leaving this in just because you're being a dick.